Hi, I'm Cameron O'Neill, and this is Natalie Clark, and we're here today to talk about the transfer portal and how it affects team cohesion.
So, Cam, what is the transfer portal?
The transfer portal is a database where coaches can reach out to each other and can communicate through this one portal. The portal makes it easier for the compliance officers and the athletes to access the information. It puts it all in one area and creates just one space where the communication can be instead of 1,000 different areas.
Can you just tell me, when did it change? When the athletes were able to, actually utilize it?
Yeah, the transfer portal was introduced in 2018, and then it was only 2 years later in the 2020-2021 season that we saw an uptake in 21% of athletes. 21% more athletes started transferring. It's also interesting because that year was right after COVID, so we don't know if that has an effect on it. But that year was such a big increase that it was notable.
Gotcha.
Do you want to talk a little bit, how does it work?
Yeah, so basically a student athlete informs their current school officer or AD, however you want to call it, and they tell them that they have the desires of transferring. So what happens after that, the school has exactly 2 business days, which is 48 hours, to actually place their name in the portal. And once they're entered, it just becomes free game for everybody. So once they're in the portal, other schools are able to look at that person, see their stats and how many points or averages they have for that season, and they can move on from there as far as offering a scholarship to the athlete. And it's also accessible to all NCAA athletes within all sports, so they're all eligible.
Yeah, totally. So you want to talk about some of the upsides of the transfer portal, like the change and everything?
Sure. So athletes can basically just talk to coaches from all different programs. It just gives them that leeway to basically communicate to other coaches, and just in pursuing looking and searching for a new school. And they also gain some autonomy in that sense. And with that, they're able to just basically select preferences in coaches as vice versa. And they, like I said before, they're just able to communicate, have those one-on-one conversations. So it's almost like starting back at square one, like getting recruited out of high school. They're able to talk to those coaches, get recruited again, but in a transfer type of scenario.
Yeah, I had read on one of our sources that the transfer athlete was revealing that she had actually entered the portal and she knew right away she wanted to go to Virginia Tech. So she changed her communication preferences to only allow communication from that coach. That way she wasn't being bombarded, she wasn't getting overwhelmed, she knew what she wanted and was able to enter. And then you have the complete opposite of athletes that have no idea what they want and programs they had never heard about. They were able to enter and then get communication from a coach they had never spoken to before, or a program, maybe get information about something they had never even thought of that they would be interested in.
Right, so it helps with the athletic and the academic side of things.
Yeah, definitely. They talked about athletes that had transferred talked about this gave them finally opportunity to explore better extracurricular activities, better academic opportunities, and athletic opportunities. Because maybe in your first time going to school they didn't feel like they'd made the right choice, and this gave them that opportunity to make a better choice for them.
So you want to talk about some of the downsides?
Yeah, well, the transfer portal has been great for a lot of athletes. There's a lot of skeptics. People believe that athletes may be transferring just out of pure frustration with coaches or playing time, and not because they feel like they made the wrong choice. Now with how accessible it is, people are worried they might jump into transferring. Another one is an athlete doesn't have an advisor or a compliance officer to help them with all of this, then it gets to be overwhelming. They're left alone to navigate and might be right back where they were before, making a bad choice. The problem with on the coaching side is it doesn't really give a view of who the athlete is. It just kind of tells you what school they came from, and you can look into their statistics and stuff, but it doesn't really talk about who you are. And that's going to directly relate to how it affects cohesion. It's such a quick process that athletes also might not get to visit or talk to the program, the coaching staff, the players, the school. You may just have to come right away, especially if it's hours away from where you live. You might not be able to get to have that personal level of communication.
Yeah, and I feel with the team cohesion, as far as the positive outcomes in that sense, it enhances that player freedom. So you were talking about, they're able to actually just play in an environment where they feel free, whereas in the previous school they probably weren't able to do so. And they're also, with another outcome of that is they're able to increase competition, and also talent distribution. So it's almost like as if like players aren't stacked on one team. So the spread of talent goes a long way when athletes transfer in and out of different schools. And as far as the coaching aspect, like the accountability and the roster management, coaches are able to manage their rosters and see what players are coming in and what players are going out in that term and things in that sense. So.
Yeah, those are definitely some positive things of the way it can affect cohesion, but the negatives we think just outweigh the positives in this case. You never really know how a player's going to fit when you're recruiting them, but with transferring, it's a faster process and you already have established players, so you don't know if that player is going to fit in with the players you already have, and you don't know if the players you already have are going to accept that player. And when you have like that, like a kind of like a riff in the team, like you don't know how it's going to affect the cohesion and the culture you have.
Right. You don't know what type of player you're getting, and
right.
You have a player joining a team that's already built that foundation and been through those stages of
right.
storming and norming and all. And you have an athlete come in, you don't know what type of mindset they may be in.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially when the transfers are able to come mid-season now.
Yeah.
It's just you've already established, you already had girls that have put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just don't want any animosity between they're just coming in to take over a position.
Yeah. And already went over like core values, coaching philosophy,
right.
things like that. Like just the chemistry and nature of itself of that environment. So yeah.
Right. Some ways to like kind of we talked about to prevent or to like kind of get an idea of what you're getting with a transfer is reaching out to coaches, but we believe that shouldn't be the end all be all. You don't want the former coach to be your complete reason for recruiting them or not.
Yeah.
And then we also we think that ways to like increase people like bonding with the team is to really have them talk to the team before they get there. Have your players reach out, have them reach out to your players. Just have an open line of communication with somebody they can really talk to and get to know as a person, not just like a face of a program.
Yeah, it makes the process much more easier.
Yeah.
Rather than them coming to a program, they don't know anybody, have
right.
no idea who's on the team or no names or anything like that. So
right.
It makes things easier. Yeah.
So ultimately, like we believe that cohesion is going to decrease with transfers. We think that there's going to be a level of animosity between the players that are coming in versus the ones that have established themselves at the program. We think that when you don't know the player, really know them for who they are as a person, like or spend as much time recruiting them, then you may not know what you're getting, and it just may not be a good fit for your culture, even though they are a good fit talent-wise.
Mm-hmm.
That brings up like the long debate of would you rather have like a winning program or like a team that bonds together? Well, we think that a team that bonds together directly relates to having a winning program. It's not one or the other. Okay, you can stop.